Yeah, I think we just saw two very good examples of large enterprises that are in the middle of their digital transformation. So I would like to address the what and the how of building a digital enterprise. And first, I have two content slides, so bear with me. Our friends from the global think tank of McKinsey, the Global Institute, have looked into artificial intelligence. And I mean, sure, 2017, AI is the new digital. Now, if you really look into it, what's amazing is that now it's becoming real. Last year, almost $40 billion have been invested into AI. And no surprisingly, the tech players, the Baidus, Googles, are ahead of all the others in their investment. I think this is an interesting slide also for the startups here that think that if they put AI on their pitch, that the valuation is doubling just by doing that. I mean, it will not be as easy, I promise you. But what you can see is that there's a spread by the sectors that already deploy AI on the X and the ones that are planning to increase the investment going forward. So just keep that. I mean, financial services, for example, which are not really the leaders in digital transformation, apparently seem to pick up on the AI part because it's really the core of their business earlier than others. Now, another topic that our researchers are very concerned about and taking a lot of time to find the answers, what does all that do to the future of work? So AI, automation, robotics, how does that change our work environment? I can only advise you, have a look at our report on this one. It just shows that almost every job will be affected by digitization, by automation. Very few, maybe it's a psychiatrist are amongst them, will still need to be done by humans. In all the other jobs, a major share can be disrupted and automized. On the other hand, essentially only 5% of all jobs will completely be digitized. So there's a major shift in the work that we're doing, and this is about the what. That is really substantial, and it will change going forward very rapidly. Now, I have one bad news and 1.5 good news on the topic how to cope with this as an existing enterprise that is already doing business and is now attacked by all these disruptions. The bad news is we already have the data that digitalization really takes away revenue pools either to competitors that haven't been there before or to the consumer. I mean, the consumer surplus is actually one of the big winners of digitization. Now, there are two ways to counter that. And the half good news is that if you're not the first one, you can still almost compensate for that by being a fast follower. But then you really have to get an agile, fast, agile organizational DNA into your company. The ones that are going one step further, that are really disrupting their own business or others out of their existing core assets, they are actually able to get a surplus also by being the disruptor. So building digital businesses is not a nice thing to do, but it's really vital if you want to grow, and if you want to grow faster and stronger than the average in your sector. Now, we have the Digital Quotient. That's essentially a scoring that we now apply to a few hundred companies globally. And a few things that we find the leaders are characterized by. One is they are 5 times more centered around the customer in their strategy and in their actual product development. So they don't take the product and then try to fit it to the customer, but they really start by analyzing the customer first, the customer needs, the pain points. And it's striking. They do it 5 times more intensive than the average. They are 4 times more risk-taking and bolder in disrupting the customer experience, not just doing the little improvements, but really getting a completely new customer experience into place. And 4 out of the 5 leading players in our survey really linked the success in their digital transformation back to the commitment of the leadership. Now, you can ask, what does the other 20% do? But it's really important that the CEOs, as we just seen with Peter Terriam and others, are ahead of that and are leading this development. You cannot delegate this out down the ranks. That does not work. And the digital leaders are 7 times more likely to put digital on top of their IT strategy and their IT spending. We've heard that before from Lufthansa. It is a challenge if you have a running legacy and you cannot digitize your company successfully. You cannot become a digital leader if you just sort of maintain the legacy. But there are still companies that do that. So that's another formula of the winning ones. So what I think you have to do is embrace the new technologies, get them into place, but at the same time, there's tough work to transform the entire organization. You have to reinvent the core. You cannot leave digitization just to a few startups or to a digital unit. You have to transform this core. How does that work? Now, we have one case that we're actually very proud of, and we think it was a great experience. And you may just now wonder, what does a dog and a T-shirt have in common? Any idea? They can both be connected to the internet. Now, who's doing that? It's a platform that has been launched recently by Telefonica here in Germany called Genie. Genie is one of the first, actually, B2C IoT platforms. Now, why do I tell you the story? Because we had the privilege to work very closely together with Telefonica, and we set up this entire new IoT platform here in Berlin with our McKinsey Digital Labs colleagues. They built the first version. They architected the whole platform. And very importantly, they now hired the entire team of 60, 70 experts into this team, and we left. So McKinsey is out again. Now it's Genie on its own with Telefonica Next leadership, and it's a great asset of the Telefonica Next Internet and IoT strategy. And that all happened in less than 9 months. So that's the way that the digital business building works. And that's actually where it happened. I mean, my good old friend Oliver built this nice tower, or let this tower build, and we as McKinsey are one of the tenants. We have our entire 12th floor now in place. And I tell that because we also have our experience studio now there. So if you want to come and see how we immerse new technology and also build prototypes and then actually build entire businesses, then you're highly welcome to join us there. Now let me come back on the markers of successful digital companies. And this is again supported by facts, by our surveys. This is one of the important ingredients. You really have to immerse data and insights to develop your digital businesses. And you cannot avoid the risks. I mean, you have to embrace the risks, but measure and learn continuously. You have to also embrace uncertainty. I mean, there's a 2-time factor that digital leaders are embracing risks and that the CEOs are accepting investment decisions with much higher uncertainty. If you don't do that, you will not build a digital business successfully. You have to be much faster. More than 40% of the digital leaders are managing the entire life cycle of a product implementation in less than 6 months, from idea to go live. And you could say 6 months, how long is that? I mean, it only should take 3 months. But the important point is these 1-year, 2-year programs are over. They're not good enough in a digital world. And put results first. You really have to be constantly checking on the milestones. And like a VC, taking investment decisions much more incremental. Don't fund for 3 years, don't fund for 5 years, go for the increments. And then if you have success, then you have to be able to scale up the investments. And finally, I mean, you need the best talent. And that's also why we at McKinsey now build more than 1,000 experts on UX design, architecture, software development, product owners. And we really try only to get the best ones and then infuse this insight into our client organization so that they can be trained and coached. So that's how we would approach digital business building. And I'm very happy to follow up on this one and see more and more companies like Lufthansa, like NOG here next year, because that's what really turns the economy. Thanks a lot.